Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. I'm joined, as always, by Paul Nealon, and we're here to discuss this week in Irish football. We're going to be doing a separate video talking about the Irish squad announcement, but today, just going to be about the Irish abroad, a couple of domestic things too, and no better place to start, Paul, than Troy Parrott. He's already reached double digits on the season. What a start to the season for him.
Yeah, full name basis now. We're back officially, so sorry we've been away for a couple of weeks, just holidays and different bits and stuff like that. But we are back and we will be back. It's obviously a big day as well because the Ireland squad was announced. But yeah, Troy Parrott, the man of the moment, 10 goals in already. He got 20 last year in August and he's got half that amount already. He's absolutely in sensational form. It will be interesting to see kind of as it hang on to him by the end of the window, the form that he's showing. I personally hope he does stay there because I think he can have a really good season and he's settled and he's the main man there. So I would hope that he does stay there, but like I can understand if he does go. But yeah, look, he's absolutely in the form of his life at the minute. And, you know, picking up from where he left off last season, we were obviously over at the Dutch Cup final. I don't know if that's going to get him the fire in his belly to try go one better this season and try and win something because they were so unlucky in that game to not win the cup, you know. So I think it's good to see. I think he should be the main man for Ireland when the starting lineups in. I think he should be definitely starting.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And like you said, there's no doubt that there'll be interest in him if he keeps this goal scoring form up. But I do think that he's found such a great home here at AZ. He's really become their main man. He scored that 10th goal in their game, their Europa Conference League playoff first leg against Levski Sofia. A lot of them goals have come in the Europa Conference League qualifying games. So really important fixtures as well. What hasn't just been like kind of pre-season friendlies, it's been proper, you know, games that AZ have been playing. And like you said, he is their main man, and I think he's nailed on to be Ireland's main man as well. I think it's not a stretch to say that he's the first name of the team sheet at the moment. I think he's been by far Ireland's most informed player over the last, at least last season, but also coming into this year as well. Finished the last season kind of tied on goals with Adamida, didn't he? Wasn't it 20 goals each?
Yeah.
Kind of tailed off towards the back end of the season, but
I think he got injured though as well, so it didn't help.
And it was also kind of a downturn in AZ's form in general. So I suppose you can't blame him fully on that one. He really is kind of, his form and AZ's form are really kind of linked, it feels like, because he is so important to them. And it's just brilliant to see him kind of pick up where he left off last year.
Yeah, and look, I think as well, the fact that he's in such good form coming into upcoming World Cup qualifiers will be good for us. We need him. Like, remember how important he was in that Bulgaria game. Just his composure to hit the ball back to Finn Azaz and get that goal. And then he was really important in the home fixture as well. In that game, he didn't score, but for me, he was the best player of the front three players. Ferguson and Ida. I thought Troy was the one that stood out, and I thought we really played to his strengths in that game, and he's really growing as a number 9 now, I think. We've seen probably in times he's had to learn to kind of be more patient as the number 9, waiting for the ball to kind of come in, but also be the link player as well. So I think he's really adapting, really learned that position well. He's getting coached very well as well, which is the main thing as well, because he was able to take that into Ireland, maybe not scoring maybe as much as he wanted, but then didn't he against Senegal, didn't he have a goal just allowed a little dink?
Yeah.
And it was a lovely goal, lovely finish, you know. So and he was only slightly offside as well there. So I'm hoping that, look, he loves playing for Ireland more than anything. We know that from talking to him. So yeah, it's just hope that he can take that form. Then obviously we've 2 really, really big games coming up, and hopefully between now and then he stays fit and he's there and playing.
Yeah, and it's quite a positive episode today, because a lot of our big players for Ireland are performing quite well to start this season. Now, if you touched on Evan Ferguson, he made a Serie A debut for Roma in a 1-0 win against Bologna, and by all accounts really impressed. He was even being compared to Gabriel Batistuta in certain Italian outlets, which I don't know, is that too much of a stretch for the first game of the season? Only time will tell. Didn't score, but I think a lot of people were impressed by his general play. Yeah, man of the match, I believe. Or I think a lot of people from here who watched it said that he absolutely deserved it anyway. You talked about your mate Martin Martin's coaching Troy Parrott. He's getting some great coaching by Gasparini and Roma now. Evan Ferguson is, and hopefully he can really kick on. He started the game and actually performed quite well.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at my mate Martin. But yeah, look, but this is what Evan needed. You know, he needed that kind of kickstart kind of for his career. You know, we know he's clearly a quality player. He maybe had to change up his game because the first season he came in, no one really knew what he was about. No one knew what he was going to do. But now, as time goes on, with you know, the way analysis is now, and everyone knows your next move and all that sort of stuff. So he's had to obviously adapt his game somewhat. And I think once he gets that first Serie A goal, I think then it'll just the goals will keep flowing for him. I think the key thing for Evan is to just try stay injury free, and that's just been the big problem for him. Is that when he does get on a bit of a run and he looks like he's about to get going, and an international game comes up, he always seems to be injured for. It's not like it's just timing, and a bit of luck as well. So we'd be hoping that, like, in my ideal situation, you'd want Troy and Evan playing together. I think that would be the ideal two going into a World Cup campaign with Adam Ida off the bench. And if he's doing well for Celtic between now and then, I'd be, I wouldn't have any problem with any of those three starting. But I think the intelligence of Evan and Troy together, we saw it in the Bulgaria game. They link up really well, and Troy can go deeper or Evan can go deeper, receive the ball, and like that play each other in as well. So I do think, and that's what Hamer's quite good at as well, is just rotating that. But we'll come to that later on with the squad. But back to Evan. Look, I think we've all been crying out. We all really wanted to do. We all want to see him do really well from an Irish fan's perspective, and we all want to see Irish men do well abroad in different countries, especially. Like, I think a lot of our fans really like seeing our Irish players doing well abroad. There's something more meaningful to it. Look at it with Troy. He's something more meaningful to it, and I think people want to see him do well.
Yeah, I think the other important thing there is we kind of spoke about it when he made this move to Roma, that it wasn't necessarily a clear path into the starting 11 for him. They have Artem Dovbyk there, who's an international pedigree striker as well. Has performed really well over the last couple of years. I think last year was his first year at Roma, I believe, having moved from La Liga. So he's some serious competition, and Gasperini has showed that faith in him to start him in the first game of the season against a decent team in Bologna. They get the win. He impresses in that win, so hopefully that's a sign of things to come. And I want to touch more on this. We're going to talk about Mikey Johnston and Finn Azaz, who also scored this week, how this kind of pans out in the Ireland team and what you think that might look like in the Ireland starting 11. But like I said, Mikey Johnston scored a cracking goal for West Brom against Portsmouth in their 1-1 draw. Good start to the season, I think, for West Brom, fourth in the table. Great start to the season for Middlesbrough. Finn Azaz scored in their win against Norwich. 3 wins out of 3 for Middlesbrough. And I think it's great to see some Irish players really heading into a bit of form coming into this international break. Finn Azaz picking up where he left off, but I think it was a positive thing to see Mikey Johnston start the season well, having had the sort of disappointment of not getting that Flamengo move over the line this summer. I think it's great to see him start the season quite well for West Brom.
It probably lit a fire under his belly as well. That's like the Flamengo fans causing uproar, saying that he's not good enough to join them and stuff like that. So I'd say there's an element of he wants to prove them wrong as well. So I think good on Johnston, and hopefully we'll see Magic Johnston now over the next few weeks.
That is new nickname now.
I've always called him
Magic Johnston.
Yeah, but we've always been calling him that because when he used to play for Ireland, when he was first coming through, he had a bit of magic to him. He did have a bit of flair and stuff like that. We probably haven't seen that as much in an Irish shirt of recent times. And then Finn Azaz, I love Finn Azaz. I think he's one of the first names of the team sheet in terms of as our attacking players. But my only worry with Azaz is if we do go to front two, how does he play then? Because he doesn't seem to be as involved. Whereas if he plays as a 10 with a maybe a front three ahead of him, then I think so, like a 4-2-1-3, if that makes sense, a 4-2-4 or whatever way you want to look at it. But essentially, it just means that if he's playing as a left side kind of midfield, he doesn't get as involved. I noticed the Bulgaria game at home, I think he played just kind of off the left, and that's obviously where he scored his goal for Middlesbrough the other day. But I do think that he's better at operating as the 10. I think for Ireland he creates a lot more. I think, wasn't it him and Ferguson linked up for Ferguson's goal, when he just was able to have that composure at the edge of the box to hang on to for 2 or 3 seconds and release Ferguson for his goal.
This is what I wanted to ask you, because I think we debated at the time, me and Steve, about I think particularly around when Adam Ida and Troy Parrott were in such good goal scoring form, how do we fit the two of them into that team. And I think in the 2 Bulgaria games, Finn Azaz really showed how important he is to the way we want to play. And having someone up front and having him in the 10 sort of behind that, that seemed to work best. So how do we kind of square this with Evan Ferguson looking quite good? I know Adam Meada hasn't had the best start to the season, but I'm sure he is still very much in Hamer Halgrimsson's thinking. And then you have the likes of Sammy Smodics and Chidozie Ogbeni coming back in. So a good problem to have, but I'm not sure how we kind of line up coming into these fixtures.
And then you got Casey McAteer, who scored obviously the last goal we scored, I'm sure. So we've got options which we didn't have previously. That's the only thing I can say. It's a positive, but I do think you have to find a way to get Azaz into that team, whatever way you do it. And he just needs to keep scoring and assisting and doing what he does best for Middlesbrough. And it'd be interesting to see whether he goes. I know he's had links with Crystal Palace and stuff like that, and they're obviously looking for a replacement for Eze now and stuff like that.
Also big links to Southampton as well for Finn Azaz.
Yeah, I think that would be a bit of a sideways move, similar to McAteer to Ipswich, but I'd rather see him go up to the Prem and, you know, have a season in the Prem, see how he gets on. I think Palace would be an ideal move. I know Eze is big boots to fill, but I think there's a position there for, you know, Palace wouldn't have to pay that much for him. Yeah. I'd say maybe 10 million, 12 million. I wouldn't say any more than 20 for him, just because he's playing in the Championship and he's an Irish international and English international, so the cost won't be as much. It'd be the same if Jason Knight to Everton or whatever. I think that move is still on the cards by the end of the window as well. That could still happen. But yeah, look, it's good to see that they're performing, but we need to find ways, and I'm sure the manager, that's what he's paid to do, will find ways of getting them into the team and getting results. But look, Smodic's coming back, it's good news. Ogbene gives us that pace as well. McAteer, I mean, this is probably the best squad we've had in a long time in terms of options. Like, not all of them are in form, but there's options there, and we know that we can count on Ogbene to give us good performances, because you could probably count on one hand how many bad performances he's had for Ireland. He's a real fan's favourite because he gives everything. I think Smodics has that intelligence about him as well, that you can trust that he's going to do well. And McAteer has a bit of credit in the bank for the Senegal game as well. Yeah, and I suppose you touched on it, so we'll stay on it now. Casey McAteer swapped Leicester for Ipswich Town, £12 million deal. Maybe a sideward step a little bit of a strange move. I was a little bit confused when I seen it, but then again, moving to a Championship favourite. He played in their game last week, so I'm interested to see how this one pans out. The only thing I'd say is Ipswich are on the up and Leicester are probably on the decline, because a lot of their better players have left and now Vardy's left, and you don't think of too many players that they have. Dewsbury Hall's gone last year, Vardy's now gone, Maddison's gone, a lot of their good players are gone, you know what I mean? It's relegated twice. So I think it's a good move for McAteer in that sense. He's going to be with Irish lads. He'll be able to build up a lot of Irish lads. Yeah. And he'll build up, and obviously Darragh O'Shea's signed a new contract there, so they're obviously planning to get back to the Premier League fast. I just hope that if they do get up again next year, that they can maintain staying in there, because I think it's getting harder and harder for Premier League team or Championship teams that go up to stay up. And I think Southampton are a prime example of that last season. They were really poor, but they still have some good players. Gavin Bazunu, Ryan Manning, Tyler Dibbling is just signed for Everton. Yeah. You know, so but they're young players. Well, Manning's not young, but they have good players, but they're just not at that level. But I think Ipswich have some players that will be up to that level, and I include Darragh O'Shea. That I think he should be playing for a Premier League side, but he's chose this option, maybe with the vision that we're going to bring in players like Casey McAteer. Maybe the Irish lads have said he's worth a punt. Yeah. Maybe you just never know. Like, I know that's the way football can operate sometimes. They could have been impressed with him on the international break or whatever. But yeah, I was thinking it's a sideward step. Now when I think about it, it is a better move, because I don't think Leicester are going to go anywhere. Yeah. Other than maybe hover around mid-day. I don't think Leicester will go up. I'd be surprised. Yeah. And someone's probably going to clip that now, but yeah, it has been a difficult start to the season for Ipswich, still winless, but I do think they have a strong enough squad to really challenge for automatic promotion. He joins, like you said, Darragh O'Shea, but Jack Taylor, Chidozie Ogbeni, Sammy Smodics. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone else as well, and of course Kieran McGenna from Fermanagh himself. So a very strong Irish connection in that squad. Moving on back to the Premier League, Keith Andrews gets his first win in the Premier League, 1-0 win against Aston Villa. Dango Ouattara scoring the goal.
Not only Keith Andrews' first Premier League win as a manager, but clean sheet also for Nathan Collins and Caoimhín Kelleher. Great week for the Irish lads at Brentford.
Yeah, we'd be hoping that we'd be calling them clean sheet Kelleher going forward. All going well.
Clean sheet Collins as well.
Yeah. Great
Clean
to see.
sheet Keith.
Great to see, and obviously the picture at the end of Andrews and Collins, I thought was a powerful image. It was really good to see, and I'm happy for Keith Andrews. He gets a lot of flack, he gets a lot of stick off a lot of people. I don't know what he's actually ever really done wrong. I've never had any bad dealings with him. He always seems happy, jolly sort of fella. I've never really heard anything bad in a football. Like, no, I know from football ever really says anything bad about him, but in terms of just the general public, and obviously Martin O'Neill as a bone to pick on Roy Keane. But look, all he has to do is just keep on focusing on winning, and great to see Nathan and Caoimhín getting a clean sheet and a win. I watched it in the airport, actually. I was on my way over to Liverpool at the time. It was a 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, so it was on Premier Sports, so I was able to watch it for a bit. So they should have been 2-0 up, I think, at one stage. They got a goal disallowed as well. Kelleher made a fine save as well with his foot, I believe. So yeah, look, it's good to see. They got bit of a wake up call last week. I just hope that they can do a bit more business in the window, because they're a bit light now. So they've lost Wissa and Bayamo and who's the lad? Not Norsgaard.
Norgard, yeah.
Yeah, Norgard. I'm confusing with Damsgaard. But he went to obviously Arsenal as well. So like they've lost a good chunk of their best players. So I think they need to add some players and then start getting the win. But Andrew seemed to be in good form with his interview afterwards. I watched it on Sport Bible. Yeah,
I agree. They probably do need to add a little bit more. But I think a lot of the discussion around Keith Andrews and Brentford over the summer has been very negative, like losing so many players, losing their manager. Obviously, a lot of people tipping them to go down as like one of the teams who are already in the Premier League to go down for the first time in 3 years. But I don't know. I kind of look at this squad and think that it's a little bit better than people are making it out to be. You know, Kelleher is a top keeper. Nathan Collins is a top centre. Damsgaard, like you said, very good midfielder. They bring in Dango Ouattara. He's already gotten his first goal. So I think there's a bit more quality than people have kind of made out in this squad. And I think they will do quite well this season, and probably better than people expect. Time will tell on that. I don't want to jump the gun just because they've gotten their first win.
I think what I'm saying is that they just don't have a lot of depth. If they have one or two injuries, they don't have a lot of strength there. So I think it'd be interesting to see what type of player Andrews likes as well, but he would sign, you know.
And you'd have to imagine it'd be something similar to what Thomas Frank like.
Yeah, well, like he didn't sign Kelleher, did he? It was Frank, so.
Yeah, and he kind of grew up as a coach with Thomas Frank, so I'm sure he's been kind of influenced a lot by him. But it's worth saying they were good value for the win as well. They were
and Villa are a good side, let's not forget.
Absolutely. So great start after what was a pretty negative start to the season for Brentford, losing 3-1 and, you know, fairly convincingly away to Nottingham Forest, who are also a good team. Another positive, Festi Ebesele didn't make the Ireland squad but scored in Europe for Istanbul Başakşehir in a first leg loss to Romanian side Craiova. So in a loss, but it keeps them in the tie.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether they can get over the line. He took his goal well. I watched the goal. It was he had one effort and it was denied, and then he took on the fullback again, which took a lot of bravery, I thought, at that point, and then stuck it in from an awkward enough angle. But we didn't touch on Jake in the Premier League, or do you have that to come up?
Jake, I'll come on to Jake.
Sorry,
no, you need to get your Everton in.
Well, it's a clean sheet if you're giving it to Collins and that, you know. But anyway, look, it was a great goal. He took it well, and you just hope now that he can overturn that tie. That was they have to go away now to Romania, so that'll be difficult. Because you would have thought in Istanbul that would have been a lot more favourable for them. But it remains to be seen. But it'd be great to have him and who else playing.
Well, I actually have it down here because I thought it was really interesting. Ireland posted on Instagram sort of a list of Irish players who are playing in Europe this kind of qualifying season. And it's amazing. Like I can't remember in my time watching Ireland this many players playing in like European football qualifiers. So they have Callum O'Dowd, obviously, for Ferencváros, Adamida and Liam Scales at Celtic, Josh Honahan at Rovers, Troy Parrott obviously scoring bags of goals for AZ, Festi scored against Craiova, Jamie McGrath with Hibs, and Andrew Onabamidele obviously at Strasbourg. So many players. And
you'd forget as well, yeah.
Yeah, and it's great to see the kind of variety of teams and countries that Irish players are playing for.
Yeah, 100%. I just would like to know whether they're obviously Rovers, Josh, that'll be determined on Thursday, but I would just wonder how many of them are actually playing in the Europa Conference, like are qualified now. I think AZ will be after this week. I'm not sure about Ferencváros.
Ferencváros are losing the first leg against Karabag.
But is that Europa League?
That is Champions League.
So they'll be in probably the Europa League then if they don't. Okay. So yeah, that's even better for O'Dowd. And then so it's just, it'll be interesting. Again, don't be surprised if Robbie Keane starts pinching more Irish players to go over there and play for Ferencváros, and could be playing in Europe as well, because O'Dowd is doing quite well over there. Obviously, he's already scored, and he's playing games, so it's great to see. And he seems to get on very well with Robbie as well. So, about Medeli, I just hope he plays more. I would like to see him play more. He's always seems to be like one game away from getting an injury, unfortunately. Similar to Evan. Yeah. Just want him to, because I think he can be a top defender if he's stays injury free. Yeah. But that's just a worry. Yeah. Because he needs durability like Nathan Collins.
Of course. You mentioned Josh Honahan and Rovers. I think we'll finish with them at the end. I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about Jake O'Brien and Everton's performance this week, because he played really well, and an Everton clean sheet at home in their first game at your new home, the Hill Dickinson Stadium.
You can't call it the Hill Dickinson Stadium or Dickinson Stadium, or they go mad, so you could call it Hill Dickinson, just so you're aware.
All right.
But you can say whatever you want here, I don't care. The reason why I want to talk about Jake is he had his baby on Saturday at some point, and still was able to turn up and play really well against Mitoma for Everton. I don't know if you watched the game. Mitoma was good, but for what I'm really, and Leon Osman was talking about it yesterday. Here I am name dropping, but he was talking about how well as a centre half he was able to deal with Mitoma and not getting too tight to him, but also knowing how to kind of keep him at distance. Now he did hit the crossbar at some stage, but Mitoma was one of the best wingers in the Premier League, and he would probably get into most teams as a left winger. So for Jake to be coming up against, he's the only real winger who's kind of given Jake quite a bit of trouble. Yeah, but still Jake done well.
I remember you said that last season you gave him a bit of trouble when he was playing right back.
Yeah, but then Jake was able to just switch it up, and then Everton ended up winning the game. It was kind of one of Moyes' first few games. But I do think that he's growing. He's going to be playing a lot of right back this year, I think, for Everton, because I think they're letting Patterson go to Sevilla, and Jake is seen as the first choice right back. So look, he's going to get a lot of Premier League minutes this year if he can stay injury free. But I thought was most impressive was that he was obviously up late with the baby getting delivered, and then still able to put in that performance on the Sunday in a new stadium with a lot of pressure on the team and stuff like that. Everton rode their luck at times. Seamus Coleman was on the bench, didn't get on. Not in the squad for Ireland as well. We'll touch on that later. But I just think there, like, how impressive it was from Jake. That, like, literally no one knew he had the baby. Obviously, but family members or whatever, and maybe the team. But it was like after the game, he put up like 24 hours to win the baby, and Grayson's is the name of the baby. So congratulations if you're watching, Jake and Sophie. Yeah, so it's brilliant. So that's what I just wanted to touch on that. And clean sheet.
Yeah, I know you went over to this match. It was their first game in the new stadium. I was actually worried a little bit because Brighton are just one of those teams. They're just such a
sunny weather team.
Yeah, banana skin team that can just cause you problems on a bad day. Likes of Mitoma, Danny Welbeck, Minta on the right. They can cause teams problems, and I think Jake, I know naturally he probably is a centre back, but playing out of position from what he's been doing the last season or so, filled in really well. So I think that's great to see, and like you said, congratulations to him on the new baby. Before we touch on the League of Ireland teams in Europe, I wanted to talk about a move from the League of Ireland. Victor Ojanvuna, a record deal for the League of Ireland, 2 million quid to Arsenal. Record deal for the League of Ireland, like I said, surpasses Mason Melia's move to Spurs. What do you think? We spoke about this, I think, a couple of months ago when it was first rumoured, but looks to be agreed now.
Yeah, it should be announced this week. I think Dan McDonald said on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. It's hard to. We said this before. It's hard to talk about him when not seeing so much of him. It's great for Rovers, great in terms of what they're doing, in terms of producing players, getting money for them. Long may it continue that League of Ireland clubs are getting money for these players. But Rovers have led the way in terms of how they're doing the academy stuff, and they're not being taken for mugs anymore. It's obviously surpassed Mason Melia's deal. We've already seen what a player Mason Melia has shown he is, and he's only 17, and he still has to go to Spurs next year. Victor won't go till 2027. We may see more of him before then, I'm not sure. You'd imagine so. Arsenal might have a call, but you might play him here, play him there, don't play him too much in case he gets a bad injury, because obviously he'll be their player, So and they're investing a lot of money into him. So yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see if they imagine they got into Europe. You'd see a lot more of him in Europe, and I think that would be a great experience for him at his age. But I still think he's a lot of growing to do. He's very raw. He's very young. You can see that from the interviews he does. He's still very, very young. So I think he's one of those players that's going to need a bit of time to adapt over there and stuff like that. And I would like to see more of him on the pitch. More. Obviously he scored that goal for Rovers. I think it was a cup game a few weeks back, and he scored in that game. And he was doing the interview after it, where Steve thought it was a powerful image of him standing over the interview with the Rovers media. But I think for him, he just needs more game to him, I think, now. But it's hard. Look at that Rovers team. Like they're doing really well in the league, and now they're one game away from getting group stages, and they're really, really good position. But you've got players like Mandreo ahead of you. You've got Honohan, if he's playing that, say, left wing back position. He's not going to get in ahead of him because he's playing for Ireland. Scored a good goal last week. So it's hard for him to
Danny Grant scoring in Europe.
Yeah, so it's hard for him to get in, and Danny Grant's done great as well. It'd be interesting to see if any dropouts happen. Will any Rovers players come into the squad over the next while? But look, in terms of Ocean Vuna, delighted for him. Seems like a nice lad, and I think Arsenal want to have more of a presence in Ireland now. So maybe you might just see them coming in and looking at some of our other top talents in the league. Maybe even Owen Elding. You never know, or someone like that. Maybe he's a little bit older for what they're looking for, but. The only other player you can probably think of after that is Noonan, that they could be keeping an eye on because they've looked at Ocean Vuna. Yeah. So look, Rovers been very smart about how they're doing things. They've sold players like Gavin Bazunu in the past for a big fee. So, look, fair play to them. You know, I know opposition fans probably hate the fact that they're doing things like that, but I think hats off to them. You have to praise it.
Absolutely, and huge money for an academy player.
What do you think of it? Sorry.
Well, this is it. Like, I know we haven't seen too much of him, but in the flashes that we have seen, there's obviously a seriously talented player in there, and you hope he actually goes over there and be it a loan out or whether he actually does break into the Arsenal first team. You hope he actually gets the chance to play. It's just, you see these players like Max Dowman, who came on for Arsenal 15 years old, and Nwaneri started in the team when he was 15. I think he's 16 or 17 now. So these players are so young, actually breaking through into the first team. Ocean Vuna, 16, and it's almost like he's almost old going over to a Premier League club like that, which is mad to say. But from a Rovers point of view, absolutely excellent bit of business, getting 2 million for an academy player. You'd imagine in the not so distant future that they'll get a huge fee for Michael Noonan as well, who's also, is he 16 or has he gone 17 now?
In and around
the other, but he's still really young, and they're going to get big money for him. Probably played a lot more than Victor at the moment in some big games in the League of Ireland this season. But no, excellent news from a League of Ireland point of view, and for Victor's point of view, going to such a top club like Arsenal, who are known for bringing through, academy players. Moving on to Rovers, you touched on it there, in the Europa Conference League playoff game against the Azores team, Santa Clara. In the away leg, shockingly winning 2-1. Danny Mandrew, winner in the last couple of minutes of that game. Danny Grant started the comeback when they were 1-0 down. Incredible game, shock win for Rovers, and puts them in a great position coming back to Tallaght.
Yeah, but I was listening to, I think, Vinnie Perth the other day, just saying it's great, like what Shamrock Rovers are doing. They almost expect them to do well in Europe now, which is good. Like, and they're kind of putting a spotlight when I'm talking to people. I was away in England and I was away in Turkey a few weeks ago, and people were talking about Rovers. They knew who they were just purely because they've been in the games. Like the fella I was talking to at the pool, who give you the drinks and stuff, he knew who Shells were. You actually put a bet on the Shells game, whoever they were playing at the time. I can't remember now. It wasn't Carabag, it was the one after that. But I can't even remember their name. But so many games have come and gone. But Rijeka, yeah, sorry. That was the one. So yeah, I think, and that shows you, like, it's putting Irish teams on the map. It's a great half-time lead they have, but this is Thursday. They need their fans to show up, and they need a big performance, which I'm sure they can. Like, they've handled pressure a lot in the past, but Santa Clara are going to come out all guns blazing. But Rovers obviously have that goal, so they have that upper hand. But they need to score at least one in this tie in Tallaght. and I hope that they can, and I hope they get the result. The people might say I'm mad as a Shells fan, but I want all of our teams to do well in Europe because, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, no doubt. And like you said, the tie is not over. This is a seriously quality team. Finished 5th in the Portuguese league. That's behind the teams like Sporting Lisbon, Benfica, Porto, Braga. Like they're the best of the next, if you get me. And like that away leg, that's like the hardest away leg in all European qualifiers at the moment. It's the furthest away. It's in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Seriously long flight out there. I was seriously stunned that Rovers got that win, especially after going 1-0 down. You just thought, oh, Santa Clara's quality is going to kick in here. But no, Danny Grant makes a drive and run up the right, scores a nice goal, albeit a deflection. But then really impressive goal by Danny Mandrew, kind of really composed touch and finish in the box.
He has it in his locker, to be fair.
And sets them up really nicely. And I'm really intrigued to see what happens on Thursday night, because I know Tala's been slagged a little bit for having a few empty stands in recent weeks, but I think this time, Tala Stadium,
they have to. Yeah, they have to pack it up.
Absolutely, because this is a really, really interesting tie. Such a big team coming to Tala. I'll be really intrigued to see what happens. Moving on to your Shelbourne, and it looks like they've got 1 foot in Europe at the moment. Really strong position. You have to go up to Belfast, obviously, and seal the deal. But a mad game in Talca Park. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, mad game is right. It was, yeah, I can see why Linfield felt hard done by at times, for sure. Just with like the red card, I didn't.
What did you think?
Didn't think it was red, yellow.
Yeah,
but I'd take it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit here and pretend like I wouldn't. I'd be fuming if it was given against me, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely, I would be. But and I have to say it like in a non-biased way. I didn't think it was a red. He's going for the ball. He's not trying to endanger the opponent, but they are the rules. And then the penalty, obviously the viral video is quite funny as well, of the fan celebrating, and then a few moments later, he's a bit sad, isn't he? But yeah, Meepo unfortunately slipped and missed the penalty, but then Harry Wood, he scored. I was watching this one actually at home because I had an accident, so I couldn't make the game, unfortunately, which I was fuming about because it looked like a great game. And then yeah, Meepo scored straight after half time, which was great to see him bounce back. He doesn't seem to let that,
great goal.
Hold him. Yeah, he done well. He got a bit lucky with the deflection, but again, getting himself in the right positions. And then Evan Caffrey, who I think has been, well, obviously Linfield came back into the game, and it looks as though they were going to claw back to almost 2-2 after getting their goal, which was a good goal that they scored, poor from Shell's point of view. Paddy Barrett lucky to be still on the pitch, but looks at the replay. But then, yeah, the keeper, what's his name? Wessels.
Spiel.
I was going to call him Wessels. Spiel, sorry, made the save. He didn't spiel it. And you liked that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I loved it.
But no, I think he's actually been a very good signer. I think he's quite a commanding presence. So I think he's going to be big in the away leg. And look, as I say, Evan Caffrey got the goal to wrap the tie up at half time, bring it up to Linfield now, where obviously Shells about a month ago went up there and got a result, although they didn't make it easy for themselves. And now to go and do the job again, which would be really interesting considering you think of the way they celebrated and stuff like that up there last time. So I don't think Linfield will be trying to make it anyway easy for Shells. They obviously are missing their striker now for this one.
Yeah.
And
it's Patrick, who's one of their better players.
Yeah, but they still have Offord, who scored the goal, missed the penalty. But yeah, look, I think the next goal in that tie is going to be big. So Shells get one like they did up there when Ali Coote scored. Then I think it could be game over. But I think if they get one, their tails will be up and they'll be coming for Shells. But I think Shells do have a lot more quality now since the window. And I think that they can bring on players. Like you got Sean Moore, who would have been a Cliftonville player. Sure, he'd love an opportunity to have a chance to play against Linfield up there. And then they have other players as well there that can come in and harm them. So, look, I think it's definitely in Shell's favour. I'm stating the obvious there, but I think it'd be amazing. I'd be over the moon if both teams got through. Obviously, I'd be delighted personally if Shells get through, but I'd love both teams to get through.
Yeah, and I was just kind of going to go on that point that you were making. Like, I do think that gap in quality is there, and I said it after the first match from the Champions League qualifier, and I think I think the same thing after this first leg of this match. I think for 90% of this game, Shells were just a different class to Linfield for a lot of it. And there were moments like we've already talked about where Shells just seemed to switch off mentally. The concentration sort of went a little bit, and that allowed Linfield to actually get back into the game. And like you said, Vessel Spiel with the heroic saving a penalty that would have actually made the game 2-2. So that's a big swinging point
Momentum,
in that tie. And yeah, Vessel Spiel, I have been impressed by him, but I think like goalkeeping is such a confidence position. He makes, I know between him and Lewis Temple there was a big mistake against Bowes, but coming on to such a moment like that, it has to give you so much confidence as a goalkeeper, having such a famous moment in the European tie for a club like Shelbourne. He'll be, remembered for a long, long time for making that save.
If they go through.
If they go through, because it was such a big moment. Like you said, I do think Linfield have cause to maybe feel a little bit hard done by with the red card. I know United fans might remember Nani getting sent off in the Champions League against Real Madrid. It was very reminiscent of that one. They get away with the penalty, like I said, but my general thoughts on this are that Shells are by far the better team, and I would be fairly confident that they go up to Belfast and do the job. Your predictions on this one? Do you dare to make a prediction? Do you think they go through?
They'll go 1-1 again, like it was in the last game, yeah. And then Shells will win 4-1, 4-2 on aggregate.
Yeah, I'll go with a 2-1 Shells win. I think they'll go through quite handy.
Key thing is they need to score.
Yeah, I don't know. I just do not rate Linfield that much at all. I think the gap in quality is quite big. But positives all around for League of Ireland teams in Europe, and it's a good way to end. We're going to be talking about the Irish squad announcement in a separate video, but that's it from us for this week in Irish football. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Will we just continue straight into the...
Yeah. Do you want me to pull up the...